On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the BMF title fight headlining UFC 326 March 7th in Las Vegas. My name is James Lynch. If you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through a bunch of different stats and intangibles. Then I'm going to give you my prediction for this fight at the end. Let me know your prediction after watching this video. We can have a nice discussion in the comments. Let's do a quick tail of the tape between these two. Max Holloway, you can see 27-8 record. Charles Oliveira, 36-11. 34 for Holloway, 36 for Oliveira. 5'11 to 5'10, 69 to 74. So you can see Charles Oliveira, a little bit older, going to have a bit of a reach advantage in this fight. Max Holloway, an inch taller, but obviously the current champ at 155 for the BMF side of things, not the actual title. And this is actually a rematch. These two fought way back in the day. I'll briefly mention that fight when we're going through Holloway a bit, but don't really think it has much relevance to this fight in 2026. But let's start first with the current BMF champ, Max Holloway, and go through everything he's got going on right now. So I mentioned this is the main event, so it's 5 rounds. Holloway's got 12 knockouts, 2 submissions, and 13 decisions. He's currently ranked number 4 in the lightweight division, but is the BMF champion. I mentioned it there, 34 years old, 5'11 with a 69-inch reach. He's got a 1-inch height advantage, and he's 2 years younger. He's the former UFC featherweight champion. He had 3 successful title defenses. First American to win the UFC featherweight championship. He's the current one-time and has 1 successful title defense as the BMF champion. He's got knockout of the night 1 time, fight of the night 7 times, he's had a pretty illustrious career as far as some of the wins go. Made his amateur debut way back in November of 2006. Made his pro debut way back in September of 2010, made his UFC debut just 2 years later in February of 2012. He's fought in a bunch of different weight classes. This, I believe, will be his 8th time at lightweight. He's also fought a number of times at 145, I believe 26 if my math is correct. He's 22-8 in the UFC. He's got 12 stoppage victories. Interestingly enough, Holloway went 3-3 to start his UFC career. Imagine fighting Dustin Poirier in your UFC debut, and then obviously racked up 3 straight wins, and then lost 2 fights after that. That Bermuda's fight was a bit shady as far as the decision in that one. Yeah, he's got some notable wins. Not going to go through every single notable win, but some of them include Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo twice, Brian Ortega, Frankie Edgar, Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez, Arnold Allen, and Justin Gaethje, and most recently Dustin Poirier. He's also lost twice to Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, and Alex Volkanovski has 3 losses to him. Also got knocked out by Ilia Topuria as well. He's had a bunch of layoffs in his career. If we go from the Jose Aldo to Brian Ortega fight, the second Aldo fight to Ortega, there was a 371-day layoff going from Yair Rodriguez to Alex Volkanovski. There was a 231-day layoff going from Volkanovski to Arnold Allen. There was a 287-day layoff going from Zombie to Gaethje. There was a 231-day layoff, and then going from Topuria to Poirier, just 266 days. This fight, not as bad, although he did fight Poirier in July, so a bit of a, not too much of a layoff going into this one with him fighting now in March. He's had a bunch of injuries throughout his career. Don't need to go through all those. He had a couple close fights. Don't need to go through all of them. The only sort of notable close fight that people remember was the second Volk fight. If you go look on MMADecisions.com right now, you'll see that 9 media members scored the fight for Volkanovski. 18 media members scored the fight for Holloway. That was at UFC 251, where he lost a split decision. So his record could be a little bit different here. Maybe 5 losses and maybe 7 losses and 28 wins instead, if you're kind of looking at it that way. Let's go look at Holloway's stats. Look at the strikes landed per minute. One of the highest you're going to see on the UFC stats page, 7.20. So a lot of volume landed, 48% striking accuracy. Striking defense is 59%. That's pretty high, especially for a guy that's, in his mid-30s like Max Holloway is. 59% striking defense, very good. His takedown average is 0.24. His takedown accuracies at 53%. I don't think we'll see many takedowns in this fight. And this is a key stat here. Takedown defense, 83%. Now, saying that, Gamrot had a high takedown defense percentage going into the Oliveira fight. We know how that ended up, but still something to keep in mind in this fight. So that's everything you need to know about Max Holloway. Again, former featherweight champion, current BMF champ, looking to put that belt on the line against Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. He's got a 36-11 record with 1 no contest. He's got 10 knockouts, 22 submissions, and 4 decisions. That's right. That is not a mistake. He does have 22 submission victories, which is crazy. 36 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. So he's only got a 5-inch reach advantage in this fight. Currently ranked number 3 in the lightweight division, if I'm correct here. Actually, I think that might be wrong. Is he ranked number 3? Let's go look. I think I might have written that down wrong. Yeah, he is. I guess even with the Topuria loss, still ranked number 3. Okay, just want to double check that. Former UFC lightweight champion, third degree BJJ black belt, got most submission wins in UFC history, most submission wins in UFC lightweight history. He's also got the most finishes in UFC history. He's got performance of the night 14 times, Oliveira does. Pretty incredible. Don't know if that'll be broken again. He's got fight of the night 4 times. Made his amateur debut way back in November of 2007, so about a year after Holloway. Made his MMA debut, pro debut in March of 2008. Made his UFC debut in August of 2010. So he's been in there for a while. His UFC record, if my math is correct, 24-11 with 1 no contest. He's got 21 stoppage victories. So notable wins, same thing. We'd be here all day if we talked about his notable wins, but some more recent ones. Michael Chandler's got 2 wins over him. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Beneil Dariush, and Mateusz Gamrot. And the Gamrot fight is extremely interesting because he's the only fighter to ever finish Gamrot in his career. Gamrot had never been finished. So not only is Gamrot's first submission loss, first stoppage loss, period. There you go. You look at it there. All of his other losses were by decision. So very impressive win for Oliveira in his last fight. Oliveira is another guy who's bounced around weight classes. In fact, their first fight against, it was the Holloway Oliveira fight back in, when was that fight? That was on the Saskatoon card. UFC Fight Night 74. Back in August of 2015. It was a neck and shoulder injury. The fight only lasted a minute 39. It was extremely short. And look at these guys. They look super young here. So can't really put too much stock into that first fight, aside from the fact it was, 11 years ago. It's also the fact that, again, the different weight class was, again, ended in an injury. And it wasn't like I don't know, if you go watch the fight, you can find it on Paramount or whatever, if they have it on one of the old streaming platforms. It's not like Holloway hurt him and it caused the injury. It's just like, it looked like he was dealing with something going in. So kind of what I'm getting at here. Is that it doesn't really have much relevance to this fight, but have to bring it up anyways. What else? Oliveira's had a bunch of layoffs too. Not as many as Holloway, but if you look at Oliveira's layoffs, going from the Dariush to Arman fight, there was a 308-day layoff, right? And then going from Chandler to Topuria, there was a 224-day layoff. Fought Gamrot in October, so he's fought more recently than Holloway has. So a little bit more active in that regard. The only close fight that Oliveira's had was that Arman Tsarukyan fight, which people thought was close because Arman won via split decision. That was at UFC 300. If you go look at the scorecards on MMADecisions.com, 21 media members scored the fight for Arman, 8 scored it for Oliveira. So majority still felt like Arman won that fight. We'll go look at the stats for Charles Oliveira here. Strikes landed per minute, 3.35. Striking accuracy is at 54%. Striking defense is at 49%. That's not a good number. That's similar to what Paddy Pimblett has in his UFC career as well. Takedown average 2.22. Takedown accuracy 40%. Takedown defense is 54%. Don't think Holloway's going to take him down. And the sub average, pretty high here, 2.6. Let's go look at the odds. Odds right now on most books have Holloway as about a 2-1 favorite. Oliveira plus 150, plus 160, as high as that, plus 162 on FanDuel. And then on Tapology, as far as the actual picks go, as you can see where people can submit their picks here, 68%. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Caught myself. All right. If you look here, this is just fan voting. 72% of people picking Holloway, 28% picking Oliveira, majority of picking Holloway, 73.6% picking him by KO TKO, 25.9% by decision. Oliveira, 85.1% picking him by submission, just 6% picking him by decision, and then you got 8% picking him by KO TKO. All right, which way am I leaning in this fight? Well, actually one more metric I gotta go with before I tell you my pick. Again, I'm kind of dragging us out here a little bit. Fight Signal. Using an AI platform called Fight Signal, they favor Max Holloway in this fight. I'll probably have an actual video going more in depth onto why they're picking the way they are, but they have Max Holloway at a 53.73% chance of winning this fight. Charles Oliveira just 46%. All right, without further ado, I'm going to be going with Max Holloway via decision in this fight. Couple reasons I'm going decision as opposed to stoppage, and a couple reasons why I'm picking Holloway over Oliveira. Okay, so first and foremost, if you look at Holloway's career, 48% of his wins are by decision, followed closely by knockout with 12 knockouts in his career. Now, he could knock out Oliveira, but I think Holloway is like a TKO guy, volume guy, as opposed to like a one-punch power guy. For example, Max Holloway cannot knock out as hard as like Ilia Topuria can. So I don't think the threat of the one-punch knockout is as big for Holloway as it is for Oliveira. Now, again, majority of his wins are by decision. That's typically how he gets it done. If you look at his featherweight career, especially, most of those fights did end via decision. So yeah, I kind of lean, like I could see a TKO happening at being later in the fight, but I think Holloway's going to get like a first round TKO. So that's why I lean more decision in this one. So there's that. If you look at some of Holloway's last stoppage wins, like the Gaethje knockout was late. It was in the 5th round, and that was like them pointing to the ground. I don't think that's going to happen in this fight. At least I don't think that would be a good idea for Oliveira. And then you look at the Korean Zombie fight, he knocked him out. But again, Zombie, very old, retired shortly after that. He was 36 at that time. I know Oliveira's the same age, but Oliveira's got a lot more left in the tank than Korean Zombie did when he fought him. The point I'm making is Holloway is not much of a finisher in terms of his overall career. So that's why I'm not leaning finish in this one. Another thing that I look at in this fight is why I'm leaning Holloway. And again, it could mean nothing because it didn't mean anything for Gamrot. But I do like the fact that Holloway's got an 83% takedown defense. So if Oliveira can't get this to the ground, I don't think he wins. I think Holloway's the better striker. I know Oliveira's got a little bit of power, but not as much as like a Topuria as an example. And I just think Holloway, like you look at the strikes landed per minute, like it's a lot higher than Oliveira, 7.20 compared to 3.35. I think Holloway's a better striker, and I think he's better technically too, even if you look at the striking accuracy at 48%. Oliveira is a little bit more accurate, but Holloway throws more. So that's something to kind of keep in mind too. People might, I did see, you see the people here picking Oliveira by submission, leading the way at 85.1%. You have to go all the way back to Holloway's UFC debut against Dustin Poirier, the last time he was submitted in a fight. It doesn't happen often. And he's fought guys that have good ground game like Brian Ortega, right? So I just don't think that, yes, Oliveira is dangerous and he got a submission win in his last fight, but I don't think Holloway has like a bad ground game. And I also think that Holloway being the age that he's at, he's probably really worked that submission defense. So I don't see that being like a huge thing here. Combine that with a good takedown defense as well. Let's also bring up the fact that Holloway, yes, he beat a guy who retired in his last fight in Dustin Poirier, but that was a good win. And we saw Poirier, the fight previous to that, give Islam a pretty good fight too. So I know MMA math's not everything, but I think Holloway's still showing that he's getting good wins. His last loss was against Ilia Topuria. And again, we know Topuria knocks out anyone. Just ask Charles Oliveira, right? Holloway's got a pretty granite chin, and Topuria was the only guy to be able to crack it. He also went toe-to-toe with Gaethje. Gaethje's a good win too. We saw what Gaethje did a couple months ago. Lost to Volk back in 2022, but again, that was at featherweight. It was a bit different there, right? So I think for the most part, Holloway looks like a pretty solid option at lightweight. So again, that's another reason to like him too. Holloway's a little bit younger. I would say he's a little bit more durable too, with the fact he's not cutting as much weight to featherweight. So you got to remember too, that knockout loss to Topuria was at featherweight, not lightweight. Does Topuria knock him out at lightweight? I don't know. I think the weight cut did contribute a little bit to Holloway getting knocked out against Topuria. Don't think that'll be that way as well. The other thing I look at too with Holloway, again, he's just got the one submission loss, which is in his UFC debut, one knockout loss. You look at Oliveira. Oliveira's been finished a bunch of times. That's a bit concerning, right? He's been submitted 4 times. He's been knocked out 5 times. Durability-wise, I would give the edge to Holloway in terms of how much damage he's taken. Add in the fact that the striking defense lower. So yeah, I don't think this is like a crazy pick. I just think that Holloway typically does win by decision. I think he'll do that here. I think there will be moments when maybe he can finish Oliveira, but I think he keeps this fight standing. I think he works his way with the volume and all that. I think Oliveira's out of answers, can't get him to the ground, can't submit him, and I think Holloway wins a fight here. I could see it being close, but I think Holloway does edge this one out. Could be like a 48-47 type situation, but I think Holloway's, he's just performing better, I think, at his age, and I think he gets it done over Charles Oliveira. So let me know in the comments which way you're leaning on this fight. Let me know your actual prediction. Don't just want to pick. Would love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time in another edition of Early Look.